right. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, May 4th. I'm super excited to have Emanuel Zevallos. Is that right, Emanuel?
Yeah, you actually pronounced it
Yay.
perfectly.
Okay, good. So I'm excited to have him with us today. You guys, I know it looks like a lot of you have worked with me and talked with me before, and you know that I'm open to almost any kind of healing, right? If there's a way to heal, let's do it. And I love the emotion code. The doctor's name is Dr. Bradley Nelson. He's a chiropractor, which I love chiropractic too. So that was awesome. And I just happened to be introduced from a friend to Emanuel a couple weeks ago. And I was like, oh my God, we have to have him on one of our webinars. So I'm super excited to have him here. He's going to teach us about the emotion code, teach us how it works, teach us about, just maybe seeing things that we aren't going to see. And I'm just really excited. I have a feeling we're going to have some really good aha moments today. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Emanuel and let him tell you why he's doing this, what his passion is, and how the emotion code works.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate being here, Jennifer. I appreciate you inviting me. And hi, everyone. It's cool to see everyone here and see some smiley faces. So yeah, I'm out in Las Vegas with my wife, and we got 4 kids here. So I stayed pretty busy. But yeah, as she was mentioning, I am an emotion code practitioner certified through Dr. Bradley Nelson. And what's an amazing thing is, just giving you a background on myself is about 2 years ago, energy healing to me was like way outfield. Like it was like I might as well be hanging out with like a Warner Brothers character on a different planet that no one knows about. Like it seriously was way out there, especially because both my parents were coming from a medical background. Both of them were hematologists and oncologists. So I'm very used to like sitting at the dinner table and them like talking about patients and different therapies and complaining about different things, and me eating there with my macaroni and cheese wondering I have no idea what all these really complicated words are all about. And so that's kind of like my background a little bit. But what's really interesting is there were 3 things that came to me that really kind of I'm trying to see like the perfect word for it, but it's just like it's when life starts pressing on you, And I think one of the main things that started pressing me were 3 things. Number 1 was that my parents actually divorced after 30 years. And, for me, it kind of made me a little bit jaded a little bit. I remember friends were telling me all the time, my parents have been married for 28 years or for 20 years. And I would say, I'm like, give it 30 years. And then that's impressive, past the 30-year mark. Like that's how jaded I was. Right. And the question is like, why would you stay that long with someone and then break up? Or, I noticed that there was a lot of things brought up in conversations at the house that had to do with my mother's past or my father's past. So I started seeing that like relationships, you weren't coming alone, that you were kind of bringing in your luggage from your past, And so that's one thing that kind of like, it was like a thumb on my head kind of pressing on me saying, that really bothers me. I don't know why they did that. It really changed my paradigm, And then number 2 was my mother unfortunately passed away with pancreatic cancer back in 2011, which is ironic because she's an oncologist herself. And I remember I was trying to do some EFT tapping on her and just letting you guys know I'm a very huge amateur on EFT, but I was just reading up on blogs and just kind of seeing, and then I started, tapping on different areas. And I said, hey mom, do you have any like limiting beliefs? And she said, I don't feel like I'm good enough. And then I said, wow, like, how long have you been feeling that? She's like, my whole life. I'm like, where'd you come up with that? And she says, well, my mother used to tell me that all the time. So it kind of dawned on me. I was like, does this have anything to do with the fact that why you're sick? Like, did this contribute to your illness? And how many other false beliefs do you hold that congruently show up time after time after time? And it feels like something's Velcroed on you that you can't let it out. And is this why you receive this illness? And so that's the second thumb that was on my head that really bothered me. And the third one was I used to work for a company where we used to provide anti-aging products, right? Because my goal is to stay 35 years old forever, right? Who doesn't want to stay young forever, right? And so, but what was interesting was that we got a CD that basically said that that 30% or 70% of people will quit, but 30% of people will stay. So then you guys know probably who I started thinking about, because the CEO is saying specifically, please focus on the 30%. Don't focus on the 70%. But for whatever reason, my heart resonated and felt compassion for the 70% that were giving up on themselves. I'm like, why do people sabotage themselves? Why do people do all the right things for financial freedom, but the money doesn't come in? Like, it didn't make sense to me. Lo and behold, I went on Amazon.com and I was just kind of doing my self-development journey as usual. And I found a book called The Emotion Code. And I was looking just for a self-development book. I was not looking for an energy healing book at all. And I read it and I was like, well, this is an energy healing book. This is the first energy healing book I've ever read. And it just really resonated with me, and it actually answered those three things. I know why my mother passed away with pancreatic cancer. I know why my parents divorced after 30 years. I know why people sabotage themselves. And I believe it's because of trapped emotions and because of this thing called the heart wall, which is the greatest discovery in energy healing history. And at first you guys might be like, come on, Emanuel, greatest discovery in energy healing history. Come on, that's kind of a long, steep thing to say. And then I kind of was confirming it with like Reiki healers and theta healers and EFT practitioners and NLP practitioners. And I was telling them about this heart wall and this concept of it. And they were just all blown away. It's like, I've never heard of it. It truly resonates with me. And, and my wife and I, we've cleared over, I think, 170 heart walls within a year. Our practice has only been around for a year, but I think we've touched almost 700 to 800 people's lives within this last year. So I definitely got busy as soon as I found out and got certified. And so that's kind of a brief history about me. I don't like to talk about myself, so I want to like move it away from that. But yeah, I'll tell you what the emotion code is real quick, unless I know Jennifer said that this is kind of a casual interview. And so if you don't mind, I'll just kind of share what the emotion code is about. Is everyone cool with that? Okay,
that's perfect. And that's what I wanted to do. The thing that I do is help everybody, just whatever is open to them to healing. And I figure the more that we can learn about it, the better it's going to be. So sure. I appreciate you sharing your story. And now we can get into the good stuff.
Yeah. So let's get to the nitty gritty, right? So basically, the emotion code is basically another energy healing mode, but I believe it's a very complete system. And there's the emotion code, and then there's the body code 2.0. So I'm an emotion code practitioner, but my friend Carson Shields, who's one of my best friends for 2 years, he is a certified body code practitioner. I'll let you guys know what the difference between us, but it was still under the inspiration of Dr. Bradley Nelson, who he was saying was a chiropractor, a very frustrated chiropractor who literally got inspiration. He believes it was from above about the heart wall, the emotion code. I mean, it was a very prayerful process how the emotion code came to be. So basically what the emotion code is, obviously, look, we're all, if we look below our hands, I know many of you are familiar with this, but just in case someone who's brand new and has no idea what we're talking about, obviously if we were to look down like microscopically with our hands, we go to our bones, our cells, our atoms, and there'd be energy, right? We're all energy. Like Nikola Tesla says, we're just energy and frequency, right? And so what I didn't know is that emotions are actually energies in itself. And so, picture the size, like these little energies the size of a tennis ball or a cantaloupe. And people are supposed to kind of feel them, these emotions, and they're supposed to kind of go on its way. But you've probably heard, how many of you guys have heard people say, I've been worried all day, or I've been frustrated all week, or, and you're just like, and we live in a society that we're actually very accustomed to people saying that. We actually excuse that type of behavior. And we say, yeah, of course you're worried all day. I mean, you got a test coming up, or of course you've been worried all week. You just got divorced. Like, we kind of excuse people who have long moments of feeling an emotion. But what they could have actually been giving you is actually subconsciously is their testimonial that they actually have what they call a trapped emotion. So how do you get a trapped emotion? Basically, it has to be a very overly concentrated emotion. So it can't just be like sadness. It has to be like deep sadness. It can't be anger. It has to be a very overcharged anger. And I know all of us have been there where we overreact with certain emotions, right? I mean, hopefully I'm not the only one. But basically, we feel these emotions, and then basically it gets stuck in our body. So for example, anger, bitterness, guilt, hatred, resentment is all the liver area. People who start having heart problems, it's like abandonment, putting love into something, not getting it back, putting effort into something, not getting it back, or longing, or longing, aka yearning or desiring. So they start having heart issues, or these trapped emotions get lodged around the heart area. And so we have over 60 emotions that we can kind of range from, that these energies get stuck in our body. So for those of you who are taking notes, here are the 3 problems with trapped emotions, okay? Number 1 is it actually starts tearing away at the tissue of the organ over time. That's number 1. So you start having organ issues, basically. Number 2 is because these negative trapped emotions are in your body, they basically create, it messes with your energy field. We all have an energy field. And it basically creates a warp in the field. So it starts, getting dented. Like picture a perfect circle, but then it starts becoming, dented or warped because of all these trapped emotions in our body. And we have dozens of them, like hundreds of them in our body over time. And what happens is because it gets dented, your body tries to compensate. So you start having neck pain, migraines, shoulder pains, lower back issues. Any type of pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, a lot of issues like that could just be trapped emotions, but you have a ton of them that are starting now. You're starting to, has hit the fan, So that was my bleeping there. But basically, so problems start really arising, and it's getting worse and worse. And so that's number 2 is you start getting pain in your bodies. When I work with people, I help them reduce their pain 30 to 60, sometimes even 90% within 20 minutes. And I'll talk about long distance healing after this. So it's really amazing. Like, it's like kind of if I work with 11 people in a day, it's like I guarantee them, like, they're either going down 60 or 30 or 90, like around there. And it's really impressive, the fact that the pain goes down right away. That's the second one. And then the third one is it makes you very reactive. So reactivity to the emotion. So let's say you felt like sadness at, like, let's say age 6. Let's say your dad was a little bit too hard on you and you felt sadness. It's easy for you to feel sadness over and over and over again. Like, when life gets hard on you, boom, sadness pops up, And so then you actually technically think that you're like, I'm kind of a sensitive person. Like, don't push me too much, I get sad. But that's not really who you are. That's actually who you were. Your subconscious is actually keeping a record of that emotion, and it's like your body is still living in the past, if that makes sense. And then basically even though your mind is living in the present, And so those are the 3 problems. Now, how do I remove trapped emotions, you say? Well, first of all, I use my son did this. When you have a 3-year-old son, he'll be like, why don't I just rip this? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, it's kind of actually artistic, like emotions and this huge crack in there. But anyway, so there's about 60 emotions on here. And what I do is, like, if I were to go up to you and start pushing down on your arm, I bet most of you are very familiar with applied kinesiology and muscle testing. So I basically, if I were there with you, let's say like Ashley over there, hi Ashley, let's say like I were to push down on your arm and basically start asking you questions. Say, you say, I have a neck problem. My neck is always tense and it's like always sore, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, so I'm going to ask, like, does your neck have any trapped emotions in it? And then you'd put out your arm and say, go ahead and resist. And then I'd be pushing down. It would say, yes, it would be strong, and then basically I'd say, okay, great, let's remove it. So then what I would do is I would ask questions like, is it in column A or column B? Is it an even or odd number? And it's basically, I'm just kind of going through this chart. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm just pushing down for the answers. That's all I'm doing.
Emanuel, somebody asked, is that like muscle memory?
Yeah. I think it's very similar. I think it's more of like your subconscious keeping a record of what's happening in your body. And so it's kind of like your body really responds to yes or no answers. I guess the main question is because whenever I think about muscle memory, I always think of like my gym coach, who when I start working out again after a very long time, he's like, oh, that's just muscle memory. Your body is like, gets a quick rebound back to where it was.
Yeah. And I think that's what the question is. Like, when you get that hurt, it's almost like muscle memory. You just keep doing it over and over.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's definitely. Yeah. So, like a bad Groundhog Day. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Go ahead.
Now I have a question. The PDF is free, correct? So we could send that out. Mm-hmm. I think we can get that free. So I'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of the PDF that he's talking about, because it is very helpful.
Sure.
Sometimes when you are going through something, even looking at that chart helps you put words to how you're feeling. And that makes a huge difference as well.
Most definitely. And what's really, there's kind of just kind of on a side subject here. What's really beautiful is that when I'm working, obviously, with any client, the question is has the client ever seen the chart? And the answer is no. The person doesn't have to know about this chart at all.
Right.
But the body, somehow the subconscious sees the chart. So when I'm asking these certain questions, it just knows. Okay. And Dr. Anderson says he doesn't know how that works exactly, but basically he knows that you never really have to show the chart to anybody, but the body does know A or B, even or odd, like it does know it. Mm-hmm. And so it's really interesting is that, So I'll look for the trapped emotion. And then usually what I'll do is I'll ask for an age. I'll just be like, is this between, so let's say like I was talking to Ashley. Let's say, Ashley, so we're looking at your neck pain. Let's say I found, worry, and I found I found the trapped emotion of worry. So I'll ask is it between, age 1 and 10, between 10 and 20 and 20, so I'm asking questions and the body goes, oh, it's between 10 and 20. Is it 19, 18, 17? It's strong at 16. Okay. So 16, when did you feel a deep worry? And then she'll be like, oh, I totally remember 16. That was my first boyfriend. I broke up with him and I was really worried. Like, okay, great. Let's release it. Now, if I was present with Ashley, I would use this magnet. Now, here's what's beautiful. And Dr. Bobby Nelson makes a lot of jokes all the time. This is a Nikan magnet. And I know some of you guys may even have one because people use it just to kind of rub on their arm and kind of shake up the energy a little bit. And it could help out with whether you're sore or you're tense. But what it really does is it basically magnifies my intention. That's what it does. Intention is energy in itself. And Dr. Bobby Nelson says to have the mindset of having love for your client and gratitude that you can assist that client. That's the type of spirit you want to have. And what you do is basically you just, you would put it in your governing meridian. So if let's say, Ashley, because we're long distance, obviously I couldn't put this on your back. That'd be really weird if I teleported over there and it was near your back. Well, that would scare you. That'd scare everybody. But that's not the case. What I would do is I would put this on my governing meridian, and then I would basically do 3 strokes over my head. Now, if I was present with you, I would do the same 3 on your back, and it would be from the bottom of your neck down to the bottom of your spine, kind of close there. So I would just do that 3 times. And then I would ask your body, did we release that trapped emotion and push down on the arm? And they said, yes, we did. And usually it takes about 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 trapped emotions, or all of a sudden I'll ask you, can you move your neck around? And then your neck has improved. Perhaps let's say it was at a 9 out of 10. It will go down from a 9 to a 6, or 6 to a 2. It'll keep going down. And so that's what I do at free sessions is I offer people, I say, let's lower some pain down. And what I love about this is that these are all permanent. So if you want to write that down, it's not like you have to keep going back to a chiropractor and adjust. These are permanent solutions to that issue because the energy it's not moved around, it's extracted. Very, very key here that the emotion code extracts the energy out of your body. So you picture these little beautiful glowing balls kind of moving out of your body. And for those of you who are come on, these energies in your body, what Dr. Bobby Nelson does in front of everybody is what he'll do is he'll start pushing on someone's arm down, and he says, all right, so technically let's say it was worry. So if I were to ask, is this between your spleen and your stomach, a muscle test, I'd go, okay, look, this worry energy is in your stomach. Okay. So then I would go up to Ashley and I would move my hand to where her stomach is. And I would keep pushing down on her arm. The closer I get to her body, all of a sudden, once I feel the trapped emotion, it's literally felt by my hand, her arm gets completely weak. And the way that Dr. Bobby Nelson says it feels is like somebody, kind of blowing like a light wind on your hand. He's like, that's kind of what a trapped emotion feels like when it's about to be released from the body. So that's kind of in general what the emotion code's about. Before we cut into some other section, maybe I could talk about the 4 benefits of clearing trapped emotions. Any of you guys have any questions at all real quick? I can talk about the 4 benefits of releasing trapped emotions if you like.
I don't see any questions in the chat, so
okay, good.
Yeah, whatever works.
So the 4 benefits of removing trapped emotions is you want to write down proactive, not reactive. Okay, so proactive with your emotions, not reactive. So number 1 is so what I do usually with clients is I like to go through their timeline, and when I mean timeline, it means I go through their inherited trapped emotions, and the Scientific American in 2015, they talked about, and I know it's very kind of typical to always talk about them, but Jewish Holocaust victims, for example, they suffered a lot of persecution, and they dealt with depression, PTSD, and anxiety, and they've noticed that descendants from them also have depression, PTSD, and anxiety. How is that possible? Even if they lived an amazing life, for some reason they have depression all the time. And what they found out is that there are these energies that are being moved literally almost like from egg to egg to egg to their posterity. And so what I do is I can find that. If I work with someone and say, do you have any inherited emotions? And the body would respond to yes. And one of the ways that I find it kind of on accident is if, let's say I'm working with Ashley again, and I'm doing column A, column B, even, odd, I'm going in there. And all of a sudden I go into this box where there's anxiety, despair, disgust, nervousness, worry, this little box where I'm kind of like, now I'm trying to find out which one it is, right? But what will happen is I'll muscle test it, and for some reason your body says no on all 5 of them. It's kind of interesting. So your body will say no, 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 no. And they're like, wait a minute, none of them? Like, you got me to this box, but they're all no. So that's when I say, do you have an inherited emotion, Ashley? All of a sudden your body says yes. So then I ask the question differently. Is it inherited anxiety? Is it inherited despair? Is it inherited disgust? Is it inherited worry? It's inherited worry. Great. Is this from your father's side? No. Is this from your mother's side? Yes. So then it goes, okay, your mother's side. And they go, is this between 1 and 5 generations? Or is this between, and then it says no. Okay, is this between 5 and 10? Yes. Okay. So it's and then I filter it down to the 7th generation. Then I'll ask, is this all on the woman's side of the family? Or does, they'll be like, yes, it is. Okay. So now you have 7 generations of worry that now Ashley knows, like, no wonder I worry all the time. It's so easy to feel worry all the time, is because she has the brunt of an inherited emotion come down from the family. So as I was saying, let's go back to the proactive, reactive. So I'm going to go through your whole entire timeline. Inherited trapped emotions. The second one is trimester trapped emotions. You heard me right. Your mother in the incubation system, when you're in the womb, the mother thought that she was the only one on the roller coaster. The baby was strapped in with you. And so the baby feels all that you feel, I worked with a boy, because I'll tell you about working with kids later. I worked with a kid, and basically what's interesting is that a lot of his trapped emotions were in the womb. And he's a very frustrated, angry child. And his mother was a meth addict, and she was going through a lot of stuff. And, like I said, he was adopted too. So stripped from the mom, meth addict. And so a lot of the trapped emotions were in the womb, where the mother was feeling anxiety, longing. She was having heartache. She felt abandoned. I think like the guy at the time left her around 2nd trimester. There was abandonment in 2nd trimester. So the baby was taking all these hits. And so it's easy now for him to feel abandonment, love unreceived. And so a lot of the emotions that the mom felt, it's actually born with that baby. And then later on, the baby starts being very reactive to those emotions, and they might start getting pain in their body and doesn't know why they have pain in their body. So we go through the inherited emotions, we go through the trimester emotions, then we go from, like, let's say Ashley was, let's say she's 26 or something, right? So we go all the way up to like 26 years old, right? And then what we'll find out is, what if I were to took out every single time you felt worry? So let's say when you typically feel worry, Ashley, is like 2 hours. If I remove, like, let's say like 7 worries out of your life, what'll happen is you'll start noticing that when you feel worry, instead of like 4 hours where you typically feel it, it'll go down to 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. And so imagine like you feel worry, and then boom, 5 minutes it leaves you, and you're like, wow, I'm over it. That'd be pretty nice, right? So that's number 1, proactive, not reactive. So when you start working with me, it's kind of like people start going, nah, it's not a big deal. And like you're way more proactive with your emotions, instead of like everything is like a roadblock to you. You see, that's number 1. Number 2, you want to write down pain or imbalance. So it helps out with pain or imbalances. That's kind of self-explanatory. Imbalances is what practitioners work with. Doctors usually work with symptoms, or they call masking symptoms. We work with the root issue. Like there may be an energy problem. And I've even seen body code practitioners shift bones using just a magnet. And I remember my friend, I'm like, come on, Carson, you can't be shifting bones long distance. Get out of here with that stuff. And then he said, well, technically, what is a bone made out of? And I'm like, okay, now you're going with that energy talk. He's like, yeah, bones are just energy. Like, bones are just energy. So what makes that different from a cell or a vessel? It's like, they're all energy. So magnet, energy, intuition, energy. I'm like, all right, Carson, you're just being a smart guy, okay? But anyway, the point is that you can basically remove deeper imbalances with the root problem, That's number 2. Number 3 is, this is a big one, guys. This is the gold mine. If there's anything to highlight, this is the big one. It's called neutralizing your past. That's the 3rd one. This is the one that, like, when I work with Reiki practitioners and I work with theta healers, EFT practitioners, I remember I worked with a certified EFT practitioner, and I was going through her timeline, and she was just crying all over the place. And I was just like, what's going on over there? She was laughing, because she's like, I thought I worked with these 2 years ago, but I'm still like, it's still traumatizing me. Like, it still messes with me. And like she's still kind of really, it's almost like she's reliving the past. And anyway, so the point is that imagine if you guys had complete peace with your past. Like you remember your past, you remember the emotions you felt, but you don't get affected in your current state. I work with people that have chronic depression, chronic anxiety, PTSD. If it didn't have number 3, they would have some serious panic attacks and issues, or they would have a relapse of some sort. And so number 3 is crucial. I believe it's the gold mine of like, I met with a lady, for example, she got divorced after 30 years, similar to my mother, knew the guy for 42 years. And she used to have lunch with her daughter, and the daughter would always bring up the ex-husband, something that sounds just awful and dreadful. I'm sorry that she had to go through that. But anyway, so she brings up this, the ex-husband, and she's like, my daughter doesn't know how much pain this guy has given me. But then, but the reason why she talks about him is because the man has this thing called moolah. And so she, he like kind of buys her a nice lifestyle, to kind of keep in touch with the daughter, right? And then she says, she's like, here we go again. She's going to bring up the ex-husband again. Oh, there it is. And then, so it's kind of this dreadful lunch she always has with her daughter. And she told me, she's like, Emanuel, after our sessions, what I've noticed is that she started bringing up my ex-husband, and I honestly didn't feel any anger, bitterness, or resentment. I literally felt, and she put it with capital letters via text, nothing. And then she says, I even try to bring up like my ex-husband to see if maybe if I were to bring up that energy, it would still hurt me. And she says, nope, nothing happened even when I brought something up. She's like, I'm ready to move on to my next relationship. So you can see how powerful that is, that you can neutralize someone's past. They can remember, it's not like Eternal Sunshine and Spotless Mind. Anybody like that movie at all? Eternal Sun, that's one of my favorite movies. If you haven't watched it, it's a good movie. But basically that talks about erasing memories. That's not what this is. This is remembering the memory, remember the emotion, but not being affected by it anymore. And then the fourth one is it gives relief to the organ of the body. So for example, if we took away worry, from Ashley over there, we would basically give relief to either the spleen or the stomach area. Okay, so those are all the benefits of releasing trapped emotions. So where I could go with this, I'm just going to see if anyone has any.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the in there, but I'm glad it's. Ashley said she felt like she was pulled here. I love this. So, I was going to ask, because some of the things that you're talking about, do you know how it like compares to what Louise Hay or Donna Eden's does? It sounds very similar. Mm-hmm. And again, I love that, because any way we can learn more and more about how this energy works and how these things go, and open ourselves to the idea that you can be healed, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it all seems very similar. So it's exciting to hear that there's different ways to do it. Mm-hmm. Do you know how it compares to theirs?
See, I don't know if Donna Eden specifically uses magnets, and if she, like I said, like there should be little differences. Like, for example, the trademarked emotion code chart. The chart, right? The chart. Okay, then there's like the use of magnets specifically to not move energy, but to release emotions. Mm-hmm. The other one too is like, I think that is the body code is like an inspired. I believe it's a very, very inspired. It's a very complete system. The reason why it's 2.0 is because the doctor continues to receive information. Mm-hmm. And it basically, you guys, I mean, if you guys saw the system, you'd be like, it would take 2,000 to maybe, who knows, 10,000 hours to create a system like this, where it's like, once you go, okay, there's 6 body imbalances. Like there's like, toxins, lifestyle, there's these like structural, like a bone structural, like there's these different things that you can move to outside of just the emotion code. And when you open it, it's like this web kind of opens up, and then you click on something, then another web opens up. I mean, it's really, really detailed. And I honestly believe the body code is like the complete system. Like it is very, very inspired. And I don't know, what I also resonated with him, just me being a Christian myself, is that, a lot of energy practitioners don't really mention anything about Christianity, or don't even mention their book, Jesus and stuff. But, Dr. Bobby Nelson's not shy to talk about his faith, and that he did pray about it. He was just a very frustrated chiropractor. In fact, the greatest discovery is within the emotion code, and it's called the heart wall. And maybe this would be a good segue to do it again. See, the heart wall is basically, again, the greatest discovery in energy healing. And he basically received a vision of it, and again, he's not shy to talk about that. He believes it was from the heavens. He saw a vision, and basically he saw his, the first thing he saw was, those, kind of like when you go to a restaurant, they have these little spinning wheels where there's like the the little things that talks about what someone ordered, and you can like put them on a little clip, like, you know? So basically he saw this vision of like 3 clips, or there was a lot of clips, but there were 3 papers on there. And he was wondering, he's like, what does this mean? Like, you know, and he woke up and he was just like, I think I'm supposed to keep working with you, honey. And maybe there's like some things that we left behind. Like he got more information that I think it was his wife had some excess trapped emotions in her body that were really bothering her. So that took care of 2 of them. Then there was like the 3rd one that he couldn't figure out. And then as soon as he was questioning the 3rd one and like no answers were coming, he kept praying, he kept fasting, and he basically saw a vision. He says it was clear as day. And he says he remembers seeing his wife's heart. Like it's almost like he was seeing through the earth, this like heart down there. And it was basically like, and there was this floor like over it, like this beautiful pristine floor. He described it on the webinar, and he had a photo of it. He's like, this just does not do it justice, but this amazing wooden floor. It was like super clean, and it was like really pristine looking. And he said that, he's like, okay, so is that a heart floor? And he was, you know, here we go, like just asking questions. And then he says, no, that wasn't a floor. He's like, that was a wall. And then he was asking, he's like, does it have a measurement? The body says yes. And then so it was kind of this discovery he was going through. And the crazy part, it was the first time in history that the body actually affirmed that this is a heart wall. Like the body actually recognized that name. And that's what separates the emotion code from most energy healers, is they don't have that portion of called clearing the heart wall. Like no one can clear a heart wall except an emotion code practitioner. And basically what happened, when I tell you the symptoms of the heart wall, you're gonna be like, wow, this could be a huge quantum shift in people's lives, especially since he received information that 93% of people have a heart wall. So it's almost an epidemic. 93% of people have this heart wall and they don't even know it. But you know what you guys are familiar with are the symptoms of the heart wall, but you just don't know that it's one culprit, which is what it is. And so anyway, he measured it. It was 5 miles. That was how big the wall was. And he found out how to clear it. That actually, how many of you guys, by a wave of hands, we'll get this practice. I know people are just like not moving a lot over there. So how many of a wave of hands have ever felt sort of like heart pain, almost like your heart feeling broken, or like, you know, heavy chest? Anyone? Okay, good. Okay, you're not the only one. Okay, okay, we got the forever waving hand. Okay, so what's interesting is that Dr. Buddy Nelson found out that every time like your heart sort of like feels that breaking feeling, that your subconscious basically created for safety this energy field around your heart called the heart wall. It's like a layer over it, kind of like picture like onions of a layer, or layers of an onion. Okay, yeah. So it goes over the heart, and where does this come from? What are these made out of? Trapped emotions. Actually, excess trapped emotions. It's almost like the body scooped up energies from inside. Like, you know, you know how I told you there's like hundreds of trapped emotions in our body? It basically like scoops up a portion of the energy inside the body and then covers your heart. It just keeps scooping in there and adding more to these layers. And so, you know, and so what happens is that whenever you receive an emotional trauma or emotional pain, but it actually hurts your heart, your subconscious is like, don't worry, I got you. I'm going to cover you again. And so now what's interesting is that most of my clients that I've worked with, guess where their heart wall creates? I think some of you guys probably know. In the trimester time, of course, their mother went through some stuff, and it was the first time their baby felt pain. Sometimes this even heart wall has even saved your life. You know, like if it was created in the first trimester, very highly likely that it saved your life, because sometimes children die of like, you know, heart issues or irregular heart palpitations or, you know, heart murmur, just heart issues, and then boom, miscarriage. But, you know, like, but basically, and so when you created this heart wall layer, now the body's used to it. It's like, okay, now anytime you have pain in your heart, I got you. I'm going to cover you. Now, people that have chronic depression, lots of anxiety, or PTSD, typically it's a heart wall issue. And so veterans who are going out there and seeing their friends get shot and things like that, their heart's constantly being covered. And let me tell you the 5 symptoms of the heart wall. But actually, before I tell you the 5 symptoms, I'll just tell you one kind of cool fact, is that there's a machine that was made in Germany called a magnetocardiogram. And a magnetocardiogram basically measures the electromagnetic frequency of the heart. And they found out that it's between 10 to 12 feet radius. Now, science has proven in the last few years that the waves of the heart, the frequency of the heart affects the frequency of the mind. That when people are jiving and connecting and going like, you know, hey, I have a good feeling about this person, that your actual frequency is actually affecting the frequency of the mind of that person. And so that's just recent studies, I believe. It's not, no longer than 10 years, they're starting to be like, there's more to communication than just talking, that your heart is actually communicating, that this is a second brain, the heart. And so what's interesting is that another thing too that Dr. Buddy Nelson mentioned is that that's only measured 10 to 12 feet. But he says, if you know anything about electromagnetic frequency, there's usually no end. It continues. So the 10 to 12 feet is what's measured, but it actually goes out. He says beyond Earth's atmosphere, like it goes out, your heart frequency. But anyway, the point was this: these are the 5 symptoms of the heart wall. So number 1 is low immune system and low energy. So you could have more energy and you could have a stronger immune system. Anybody want more energy, stronger immune system? I know I do. That's number 1. Number 2 is indecisiveness of mission. Okay, kind of like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? I feel like, I honestly believe that, whether you believe in God or higher self, I believe there was a collaboration before you were born in regards to your mission. And I believe everyone has one. There is no such thing as a higher mission or a lower mission. A CEO is no better than a custodian, but I believe that everyone has a mission. And it's something that you have a special talent that you have. That it's a gift to the world, and you can use that within your mission. That's my personal belief. And now what's interesting is you can be like, well, Emanuel, that one I got covered. I ain't got no heart wall because I know my mission. Okay, well, congratulations. You probably do know your mission, but it's only mentally confirmed, not confirmed by the heart. Okay. Now, if it was confirmed by the heart, you would have more joy, elation, and happiness in the journey of your mission. What good is a mission if you don't have elation and joy during it, right? So that's the second one. Okay, so mission. The third one is called, we put desensitized heart, or AKA numb heart. Okay, what does that mean? How many of you guys felt like sometimes when you're in relationships, and we'll use by the way of my hands here, that sometimes you just tend to see people giving you love and affection, but you don't feel anything? Anyone feel? Okay, come on, guys, let's be real here. That you're just like, I don't know what's going on, and I see you over there. What's your name? Susie? Susie's very animated. So that's called desensitized heart. And so this causes 2 problems, guys. Number 1, it could cause codependency. Now, why codependency? Is because you're not feeling, your heart cup is not full. You start looking for things to fill up your cup. I know a husband, for example, he has a heart wall, and his wife has a heart wall, and he didn't really feel much love from her, so he became codependent on biking. Like that was his shtick. That he's like, if I go biking, maybe I'll get that high, so I can feel love for myself. You see, little by little, he waned away from the bike because he started feeling more love from his wife. You see, it was just a codependency thing, or it could be codependency on people, or like, I need to hang out with my husband more, like a lot more. Like, he doesn't spend enough time with me ever. You could be codependent with his time because you don't feel it. You think that if you spend more time with him, you'll feel more, but it's still your numb heart that's going to block it. That's number 2. We're still number 3. Here's another counterpart to 3 is that it could also excuse the abuser. Now, I have been in this situation before, guys, so I'm going to be totally real with you. It's where you keep going back to a toxic relationship. If you haven't been in that situation, then you haven't lived long enough. But I know that I'm like, why do I keep going back? Why do I keep going back? Why do I keep going back? And the reason why is because subconsciously you figured out, you're like, hey, you know what? When my heart hurts, for some reason it just stops in a little bit. Like, it doesn't take too much time before my heart stops hurting. I could take the hit. So then you start kind of like abusing the heart wall. You become a heart wall builder. So whenever I see girls going like, yeah, I'm back with my guy again, I'm like, no, not that guy, please. And what's happening, or guys do it too to girls, what happened is that they've figured it out. They're like, my heart will hurt for a little bit, but I'll get over it in a night. And so they keep coming back. And the problem is that they're actually on a freight train to depression or anxiety or PTSD. When they break up with the guy, all of a sudden they're like, hey, for some reason I can't sleep at night, or I have anxiety, and like I take pills now. I'm like, figures, and it's because they've abused the heart wall. That's number 3. Number 4 is your love language gets lost in translation. Okay, what does that mean? It means this beautiful butterfly. This is the way Dr. Buddy Nelson mentions it. It's this beautiful butterfly coming from your heart. Okay, that's your love message to your partner or to your kids or to your friends. But then it has to go through like abandonment, crime, discouragement, resentment, blaming, horror, peeved. It has to go through all these walls. And once it goes through these walls, it's really tainted and broken. And then once it gets to the partner's ear, guess what he hears? it's this strange, deformed message. So what happens is it creates a lot of contention and fighting in the home. And you might be like, I don't know why we fight over the dumbest things. And in modern times, it's when the guy says, what do you mean by that? Or vice versa, when the woman says, what do you mean by that? You know you've entered like the mind zone, right? Like when my wife says to me, what do you mean by that? I know whatever I say, I'm probably going to fall into a hole anyway. And like, I got to get the couch comfortable because I'm about to sleep on it. Like, you know, so that's a zone you don't want to enter, but it's a heart wall issue. You actually had very good intentions, but they hear you as if you didn't. And so that causes 50% divorce rate, heart wall problem. That's why my parents divorced. They both had heart walls from emotional traumas, and they brought their past. They were very reactive, and it was only time before it just explodes. And so that's number 4. And the 5th one, guys, and this is the last one, is abundance and wealth. So if any of you guys feel like you have a ceiling to your income, that for some reason just you feel stuck, I'm telling you, it's a heart wall issue. Think about it. People go, well, what does heart have anything to do with wealth? Oh, everything. It's like, as you think it in your heart, so are you, as they say. But you can't think with your heart if you have a heart wall there. It's kind of hard. So I wanted to mention real quick is imagine going to a symphony, orchestra, like with symphony and everything like that, but there's 3 violinists that are off. I mean, most of you guys would be like, I want a refund on my ticket because that really hurt my ears, And that's the thing, is that we may have the orchestra set up, we may have everything set up, but 3 violinists are off. Do you guys want to know what those 3 violinists are? It's number 1 is you don't know your mission. Like, you don't know it for sure. Number 2, you don't know how to receive love perfectly. Like, you still kind of like, you have this heart wall that's basically desensitizing the way you receive love. The 3rd one is your love language goes off. Instead of sending a butterfly, Dr. Brian Nelson says, you're sending bats to people. It's funny thing. He does this little thing. That doesn't look like a bat. I don't know why he does that. But anyway, but he says you're sending bats to people, And so once you clear those things, there's nothing more sexy or more attractive than a woman or a man on their mission. They know how to receive love perfectly, give love perfectly. I'll even mention just a scripture real quick. Like let's say like Jesus was walking up to a fisherman and says, follow me. I mean, can we all admit that's a pretty short speech? Follow me. But for someone to drop their 6-figure income, see, fishermen weren't broke back then. Like for them to drop their 6-figure business and be like, I'm going to go after this person because guess what? He's on a mission. He knows how to receive love perfectly. He knows how to give love perfectly. And they just trust him, and then he follows them. And so that's pretty much the heart wall. Can you guys all admit if you guys can have these symptoms more in your control, you would have a very different life. And so that's an introduction to the heart wall. I don't know if you guys want to add.
That's awesome. Yeah, we only have about 10 more minutes left. Okay. So I was going to see, that was awesome information. I love it. I can see in the chat box, there's a lot of aha moments going on, which I love, because I always feel like if you have an aha moment, that's amazing, because that is the next step to actually understanding and releasing. And I think, do you find that too, that people have to be ready to release the emotions?
I kind of use the analogy of faith of a mustard seed. I've met with very skeptical people. I would say maybe 1/4 of my testimonials on our practice where I was skeptical. But if they showed up, that's the only faith I really need. Like if they showed up to meet with me, that's enough faith. So.
Okay, that's perfect. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions? I'm just going to go ahead and unmute. Let's see. And if anybody has any questions, we'll just go open forum right now. And you guys are welcome to ask questions if you have any.
Thanks for letting me pick on you, Ashley, by the way. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions, but I have to tell you, everything you said was so funny because it actually pertains to me. Just about everything you said, it could have been like we were actually in a session. So. Yeah,
no, I feel like there's a lot of I feel like, first of all, truth resonates. When you see a truthful message, I think, people need to like check, clinical trials and all this different stuff. Or, I feel like we have something inside of us that can basically figure out like, you know what, this sounds true to me, And so, yeah, I appreciate that you felt that way. So.
Yeah, I'll second that. Everything Ashley said, it just resonates totally. You brought up things that, I forgot about that. Well, that answers a whole bunch of things right there.
Right.
Makes perfect sense. Now, how do I get rid of it? So can I get together with you and get rid of all this and heal? Because that would be wonderful.
Sure. Yeah. Like I said, I always offer a free session for people because I want, like I always say, like I want my tongue in my mouth to match the one in my shoes, and so I want people to experience the emotion code. And then after that, we can talk about kind of like where you want to move from there and everything like that. So.
And we'll make sure I'll email out all the information. And for those of you that are in the membership, this will be in the membership, this recording. So that'll be there too. And then we'll make sure that all the information from Emanuel is there so that you guys can take advantage of the free session and see how that's going to work. I'm seeing, again, I love all this faith and trust. You guys, absolutely. And we also know that everything is energy, right? And this just is one more confirmation that everything is energy. So
yeah, any questions? If you guys don't be shy, I don't bite. Any questions? And then if there's no questions, I do want to mention just two quick things that'll take 2 minutes. And I think you guys might appreciate what I'm about to say afterwards. So here's someone typing. I can't talk.
Yeah, she's trying not to cry. Okay, so that's great. That you're starting to release already if you're crying. Mm-hmm. And you guys, that a lot of you are in the group or know me in some capacity, and you know that where any of us are gathered with the intention of healing will start to happen, right? So allow that, pray today, meditate today, take notes today, journal how you're feeling. All of those kind of things will start releasing and moving emotion, moving energy, allowing things to move. Because he was right when he was talking about like the tennis ball or the cantaloupe, things get stuck. And we have talked about that before in a different place because I don't do emotion code, but in a different place we've talked about how that happens. So allow that energy to move today. How does tapping compare to magnets is the question.
Yeah. So what I've noticed, and the only experience that I have with tapping is my amateur approach with my mother before she passed away. And then also working with a certified, someone who does tapping for a living. And she basically said that the one thing that she knows about the emotion code is that she has to keep going back to continue tapping and things like that. So it seems like it's something that could temporarily relieve maybe philosophies or certain emotional pains, but that you need to come back to it again and revisit it. What I notice about the emotion code is that once we neutralize your past, you don't have to go back there anymore. That's the big difference. I think it's more permanent. So.
Awesome. All right, we have just a couple more minutes if anybody has any more questions or last comments.
This is awesome.
Okay.
This is at exactly the right time. Been looking for you for a long time, I think, and ready to get rid of, resolve all these things that I know some of them that are there, but I'm sure there's others that I don't have a clue. But yeah, right now, as soon as we finish this, I'm ready now.
Yeah. What's funny is, what I learned, there's two quotes that really helped me out. And then if I can mention just two things real quick, it'll take like me a minute each. Is one of the two quotes that really helped me out is that, what you don't know will hurt you, And, it's like the book you don't read cannot help you, And it's just, I thrive on what I don't know. I thrive on it. In fact, one of my favorite books called The Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, he said, you're either rich or right, but you can't be both. And one of the things that I feel this society loves to thrive on, which I don't, is they love to be right. And they love to be right. And then what happens is if you're too right all the time, you've actually damned yourself. You've stopped growing. And so what I've done is like I've made a decision in my life that I'm going to find more ways to be wrong. Because if I'm wrong, I could be rich. Because if I'm so right, I tell my friends, if you're so right about finances, why are you broke? If you're so right about relationships, why have you been divorced 3 times? If you're so right, see, these people love to be right. They love to give advice, but they're broke in that area. So my thing is like, if I'm going to buy someone, I know if I buy someone's opinion, I'm going to buy the lifestyle. You're talking to someone here who doesn't have a heart wall since April 2016. So I'm not just talking theory. I've cleared my own heart wall. My wife and I both have. I'll just mention this real quick. When I read the emotion code, this is what I said. I'm like, this is either the greatest scam in the world, or this is the greatest thing I've ever seen that will change so many people's lives. And then, but guess what I did, guys? I actually took that book and I put it on the shelf and had, Charlotte's Web on it. And I just sat there. But guess what that was? That was my mission. But guess what I had? It was my heart wall. It was my heart wall. So I saw it. It was, you guys, your mission is probably in your desk right now. It's probably sitting there, but your heart wall is just like this fog, and you're just like, is that? And I remember I was like, should I stay with my business? Should I work for my friend from home? Like, should I do this emotion code stuff? And I didn't know. In fact, when I cleared my heart wall, I did the emotion code certification class on a whim. I just said, let me just take this book out again and let me just try doing this real quick. And I did it. And then here's what happened is, it was 1:00 in the morning. I had like paper clips on my eyelids and I was still studying the emotion code. And my wife was tapping me and I'm just like, what, babe? She's like, it's 1 a.m. in the morning. You need to go to sleep. And I'm like, no. I'm like, it's 1 a.m. I'm like, I thought it was like 11 p.m. She's like, no, it's 1 a.m. Go to bed. And then she noticed, she's like, what are you doing up right now? I'm like, what? I'm like, I have an appointment at 5 a.m. What happened is my heart was running on fumes because I was so jacked excited to help people. And I knew it was my mission, but I didn't even know it. Like, I was waking up early and staying up late, and I didn't even realize that I was doing that because I was so immersed in my mission. And in May, I actually pronounced to myself, I am an emotion code practitioner. And this amazing amount of peace came over me that I'll never be able to describe, but it basically said, it confirmed it. Like, it was what it was. And my heart basically was attracted to it. And so, but I want to mention just last two things. One thing is, if you guys happen to know any veterans at all that are suffering with PTSD, our goal in Coding Alternative is to work with 2 veterans a month and basically we basically help them out at no cost. No cost. They can come to us. I'll clear all their heart wall, which they're huge, by the way. I clear their heart wall, and then I go through their whole entire past, and I neutralize every single age of their life. And they paid 0 money. And I do that because I want to give back to the military. So just if you know anybody, any veterans at PTSD, they have a home here at Coding Alternative. And I worked with one last month. We work with 2 so far, but our goal is 2 a month. And that's 24 veterans a year, because there's actually 22 suicides a day coming from the veterans that are in the military due to PTSD. So that's number one. The second thing.
I love that. If that's okay, I'm going to share that. My son is in a group that is with the Air Force. They support the Air Force ROTC. So I'd love to share that.
Cool. Yeah. If you guys can get the word out there, that'd be really great. Someone said something?
I had a friend who committed suicide he was in Afghanistan, and he had a real hard time transitioning back. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And so I went to military school for 3 years, and all my heroes that were mentoring me, and I did very well in military school. I was like the highest ranking officer there. I don't know how it happened, but they mentored me. And then I caught up with them 6 years later, 10 years later. And they were all suffering. Like, they lost their job, and they got divorced. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, oh, I'm under a lot of pain, and I got diagnosed with PTSD. And to see my heroes mentoring me suffer was I couldn't bear that. And Dr. Billy Nelson's a big advocate too. He actually had a website called SaveASoldier.com. He sent over 10,000 free books to Iraq because he knew that Iraq soldiers were going to start getting PTSD. So Dr. Billy Nelson's, he was doing his service to the military as well. But anyway, the last thing I want to share with you is I also work with kids as well. If you have any children who are kind of, you feel like they get angry quickly, frustrated quickly, and you're like, what's happening to my child? I don't know what's going on. Trust me, it's a heart wall issue, and it's a trapped emotion issue. And what's really beautiful is I can just work with the mother and father. It's almost over. I can work with just the mother or the father, and then basically I can do it via proxy, so the child doesn't even have to be there, which is kind of crazy, and the child receives all the healing. So I don't like to talk
about autism.
Autism, yeah. So autism is a body code issue, and my friend Carson is working with somebody who has autism. For example, this lady had seizures a lot, with the autism, and he found out through muscle testing there was this lung breakage going on, and that there was some sort of toxicity in the lung. I mean, how could a doctor find toxicity and breakage in the lung, and then basically that there was some sort of the toxins came from this certain age, which the mother remembered that it was vaccination that baby received at this certain age. And so he basically gave her sort of a detox of the lung to basically stop the seizures from happening. And so again, that was a body code thing. So yeah, if you do have a more serious issue, autism, fibromyalgia, Alzheimer's, ADD, infertility. I mean, anything you can think of that the body code covers that like it's nobody's business. And it's pretty amazing. So, and I'm done.
Okay, Amanda, I know it's really good. I really, really appreciate you coming on today. I know everybody got something out of it. I can tell in the comments, aha moments. I felt chills a couple times, so that's awesome. You guys, anything that you can do to heal, let's do it, right? The more we can be open, the more we can be in that space of what if. I don't remember exactly how he was saying it earlier, but that wanting to know where he was wrong. It's be in that space of what if there's a different way to look at this? What if there's a different way to heal this? What if I can make my life different? When you can be in that space, that's where growth really, really gets good. And I just want to say, I love all you guys. Thank you so much. And it's 11, so we're going to go. And I will post the replay of this, and I will make sure everybody that was registered gets Emanuel's information so that you guys can take advantage of the free call and then go from there and see what's going to work for you. But Emanuel, again, thank you so much for being on the specialty webinar this month. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I will talk to everybody later.
Bye, guys.
Okay. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.